Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. My name is Andres Gamboa, and I am the host of the Ponytails podcast. If you guys have never heard about us, if this is your first episode, welcome, welcome. Hope you enjoy. This is a show where we talk about people who sold books door to door in college for 80 hours a week. It's this crazy internship. It's kind of like a cult. Kind of, but not really. Depends on who you ask. Anyway, the long story short of it is that we get to interview those people and they tell us about their stories of their time doing that, and then a little bit about what they're up to now. So it's sometimes it's hilarious, sometimes it's serious, sometimes it's crazy. But all in all, it's been a good fun. This has been a really cool story. We started in November of 2020, and now we're here. A couple of announcements before bringing our guest on for today, which I'm super excited about. It's Robin Mukerjee for you. You guys probably already know this if you're here and if you're tuning in, but we're excited because obviously a legendary figure in the alumni world of Southwestern Advantage. And so, yeah, of course, we're not affiliated with Southwestern Advantage at all, but this is for a show by alumni for alumni. And so excited about that. So, quick introduction before I bring Robin on. Robin sold between 1992 to 1997, and then he was sales manager until 2014. We can talk about why it was only till 2014. Hopefully, that's going to be a good story. If he wants to share, it's totally his call. He won the Excellence Award 3 times and is coming live to us from Scotland, which is super exciting. I just also found out this is actually kind of funny. We obviously with these European guests and actually going forward, we're just recording. So this is actually pre-recorded. So you guys are listening to a pre-recorded, unedited, raw version of this conversation. But normally what we do is we call ahead and do like a 15-minute conversation about what to expect on the show, figuring out how to book them, all this stuff. Robin just goes, "You want to just do it right now?" I said, "All right, let's do it right now." So that's the way to do it. So let me bring him on and welcome him to the show, Ponytails Podcast. How's it going, Robin?
Doing great, Andres. Thanks. Thanks for changing your shirt. I was a bit nervous when I saw that Southwestern shirt. I thought
Yeah.
I was going to start shaking and it's going to have flashbacks and things like that. But I appreciate you. You now have more appropriate attire on, so that's good.
Yeah. By the way, big shout out to EnLight.Energy. They're also our sponsors. Julio Hernandez runs the company, and he's a book guy. And
Yeah, say big hi to Julio. How's he doing now? That's great. Last time
yeah,
I think he was at Third Home at one point, and then
yes,
he must have set up an energy company. So that's great. Glad he's doing
yeah.
his own.
He decided to do his own thing, as we all kind of find out is usually the better thing.
Yeah.
No offense, for those of you who haven't, that's cool. You guys are doing the right thing. But some of us decided, we're going to do our own thing. And so this is super exciting to have you on. Sorry. What's up, buddy? My dog just snuck in here. Anyway, so the best thing about working with Julio is I now work with EnLight.Energy myself, and so there was a lot to learn from him. He's a great dude. So I'm glad that you know who he is, and I'm glad that you're you're familiar.
I am, yeah.
So let's jump into the show. We usually like to talk about what you're up to now, what life is like, and kind of catch up with you. So what's since 2014 till now, what's life been like for you? Fill us in on the life of Robin Mukerjee in the last few years.
It's been great. It's probably been, I'd say, the most enjoyable 8 years of my career. And I spent the first 3 months of it in a legal battle with Southwestern, so I'm glad that was put behind us. And then we
Oh,
set up
word.
a company in 2008. Yeah, my wife and I, Angie, who's a book girl, amazing woman, sold for I think 10 or 11 summers, and she was there for 14 years until we started our
Wow.
family. So that was probably the best thing about Southwest was meeting Ange. But anyway, 2008, I got an email from a buddy of mine from college. He'd been the rugby club captain 2 years after me. So I kind of showed him the ropes, and we kept in touch. And he actually worked for, it was like a mimic company of Southwestern in the UK. Southwestern really didn't like them, but we were all friends anyway. It was a company called Airpic. They sold aerial photos, people's homes.
Oh,
And
nice.
yeah, we used to bump into each other on campus and go to the bar at night for all young fellas and have a good laugh, take each other's posters down, things like that. Anyway, several years later, 2008, Andy sent me an email and he wanted to meet up. And at that stage, I had about 500 people in my organization, so I was pretty busy. And I was like, Andy, I really don't have time. But 3 kids under the age of 3 as well. So I'm like, I don't have time or bandwidth or any interest in doing anything else, but I'd love to see you, as a friend. So it's like, yeah, we'll fly up anyway. And he brought a guy called Steve Cook up, who was one of the very first people from Europe to sell books in 1987. And he'd gone back and set Airpick up and basically copied Southwestern. And so he wasn't hugely popular with Southwestern, but he's a great guy. Then they'd got into frozen food and they'd sold that. And then they'd stumbled into telecoms and they just sold their first company for several million. And they were about to do their second incarnation. And they're like, Robin, we really want you to run our sales function. And I'm like, well, I can't do that. I'm kind of busy. But my wife, Angie, is kind of looking to speak to adults again after 3 years of being a full-time mom. And so Southwestern offered some sort of shitty job with the alumni department paying like peanuts. When she's not going to do that. She's worth a lot more than that. So she and I started up Two Circles Consulting, and that's a telecoms sales division. So we sell business to business telecoms, so fixed line, mobile, data, VoIP connectivity. One of the reasons we're able to speak tonight is we've both got great connectivity. If we had crappy connectivity, we wouldn't be speaking. So that we kind of started that. Spencer got wind of it. In those days, I had just won the Excellence Award again, and Spencer and I were really tight. We got on great. I was very close to Spencer, and he found out about Two Circles and gave me a phone call and said, Robin, I'm going to fly over and see you. It was early December. So I said, that's great. You're always welcome. I love spending time with you, Spenny. He flew over 29th of December, right in the Christmas vacation. Bear in mind, he's like 72, 73 years old by this stage. So It wasn't like he hadn't been pretty successful already. I don't think I was a major part of his future success, but he wanted to own Two Circles Consulting, and he wanted me to stay at Southwestern. So he spent 2 days in his Christmas holidays with us, and we then argued for 15 months and went through various legal battles, and Southwestern became partners in Two Circles. And then in 2014, they got a little, what shall we say, overly ambitious about how much of the company they wanted to own. So we parted ways. That's a very, very, very short version of a.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. So then, and it wasn't the most amicable of partings, and we basically, Angie and I put a lot of money into the business, and we built it up, and we've sold it a couple of times and restarted it, and it's been an incredible success. It's been great fun. I've still worked with some of my favorite people in the world. We've all worked together for over 20 years. They all own part of the business, so they're all partners in the business. And I go to work with my best buddies and old book guys and girls each day, So it all works out really, really well. And at the same time, our children, Sam and Ollie and Cameron, have become very good golfers. So we spend a lot of time on the circuit, taking them to tournaments, and they're going to come back to the States and go to college starting next year. They got a full-time scholarship to go all the way through school, and they're going to be back to the States. So it's all gone full circle. We love America, love American people, love everything that it stands for. And if things hadn't gone upside down with the CEO at the time, then we would have still been at Southwestern. I loved what I did. I loved the kids, loved building
Yeah.
my organization, and we had a lot of fun. We had kids from South Africa, all over Europe, Brazil,
Yeah.
all over the UK, and we had 3 different programs, which was unique. We had the UK program, the US summer program, and the US winter program. So there were a lot of Sunday meetings and a lot of sizzler strips that came off the back of different things. So yeah, I hope that
Wow.
gives you a flavour of what we've been doing since.
Wow. Well, do you mind if I dig into that, or is that a story for another time? It's your call.
It's up to you.
All right. Let me do some digging, because you're not the first person, and names will not be named because they've asked for privacy. But there are a lot of people who've had legal encounters, of which, I'm not expecting to get any, but the nature of the show, right? But
Yeah.
why do you think there's such a big gripe with that? I mean, there seems to be this common, like, two camps. One camp is, Southwest is great, we love Southwestern, everything's awesome, and then there's this other group of people, maybe the bigger group, that it has kind of bumped uglies. So let's just say it that way. They've locked horns a little bit with Southwestern. What causes that? Where do you think that the source of that comes from? That you've been through it. Maybe you can give some insight on that.
Stupidity.
That's fair.
Greed. Dumbasses. You know,
Fair.
Just ridiculous behavior by unreasonable people. I think it's better now. I think they lost a lot of really good people, and they've realised that. And incidentally, I don't blame Spencer at all for it. Spencer, he tried for 6 years to make it work. He was not the challenge. He's a great guy, and I only have great things to say about him. And I remained friends with him until he passed away in 2017, and I'm really, really glad about that. And we drank a lot of wine together. We had a lot of great nights in Edinburgh together, and being part of my life was a really positive, an incredible thing. Looking back at it, I didn't think much of it at the time. I just thought he was a friend and someone I worked with, and I learned a lot from him, and I always,
Sure.
it's like a sponge, but there is definitely cultural challenges associated with believing that you owned people and their IP and their lives. And I think that's better now, because I've seen, it seems like some of the other guys are now having side hustles and things that they're allowed to do without it impinging. So maybe a real positive that came out of it was we sort of broke the glass ceiling, I guess.
Yeah, it would seem so. Yeah, I would agree.
I just wish I hadn't cut myself on it so much. But you know what?
That's a great way to say it.
It was one of those great things where if I hadn't, because I promised my kids, my big kids, I said, I'll be there for you. I will never leave you. If you've committed to me, then I'll commit to you. I'm never going to let you down. And I never did. I never did. And lots of them did. And we had lots of conversations about that. And again, I'm still really close to loads of them. But at the end, the decision was taken out of my hands. So that was, and if it hadn't been, I'd have still been there trying to sell books in a pandemic, and the financial consequences of that would have been horrific. The stock price has tanked since then. They had this whole mess with Great American, and it's just not. If you look at the revenues and the profits then compared to now, it's really been not managed as well as it could have been, in my opinion.
So, yeah, I could see where you're saying this.
Without me saying too much more, probably got myself into trouble already. But I'm a free man; I can say what. Want me to get to the really good stuff?
This is like, all right, this is gonna air.
Yeah.
No, but to be honest with you, I mean, I know where you're coming from, and I think where if I can share like what I've heard on my side, right? Because when you do this and you do this kind of thing, and you talk to so many different alumni, you kind of there's a lot of grapevine that you get. So
Oh,
some
yeah,
of it is probably rumors and some of it is legit. But here's the experience
a
I
lot of
know for a
bongo
fact.
drums going in the background.
What's that?
A lot of bongo drums.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. So, but
You need
here's what I
subtitles?
know. What's that?
Do you need subtitles for me?
No, you sound good. You
Oh,
sound
here you
good.
go.
Yeah, I can understand you. I can understand you. I just there was somebody mowing their lawn, and I thought that that's
Okay.
what you were referring to. So I was like, I don't know if you can hear that. Let me know
No,
so I
I was
can
just
like.
checking if sometimes when I came to America, I had to bring a translator along with me.
No, listen, I've listened to enough commentators on football, soccer I got it. I've got I've picked up the accents. Also, I've talked enough to Pete Burgess, who I
Okay.
believe you know. Yeah, love Pete.
Yeah, I love Pete.
Uh,
He's a lovely guy. And again, someone following his passion, doing his pilot things. Great. Love to see it.
yeah, yeah. Maybe they'll try to buy an airline, Southwestern Airlines,
There you go.
and then get Pete.
Yeah.
Oh, but the thing is, onto what you were saying. So it's very stark difference. I've talked to a lot of European alumni where they're a lot of the Estonians have like a side hustle. They have a business that they run. The culture there is you during the summer, you go to America, you sell books, and then you come back and you work on your business. And they
Yeah.
have their own business. Some of them web business. Here, if you try to do that here, not so much. And even I have had personal experience with I've gotten phone calls from people who will not be named who were wondering about me doing this podcast through Southwestern, and that would kind of defeat the purpose of the show, and I wouldn't be able to have this conversation with you if that was the case. And
Yeah.
so and so so I mean, from a personal experience, I can even speak where I understand where there seems to be a desire to try to own, and a very stark line drawn to, if you don't want to be owned, then you are no you are no longer one of us. And that's a bummer. We've had that conversation on the show with a lot of different alumni who have had that experience, and it really stinks because you gave so much to a company, especially you. I mean, hell, what is it, 20 years, 22 years of
23,
23 years of blood, sweat, and tears. Literally, you bled at some point, probably. You
blood,
definitely sweat and
sweat,
you
tears,
cried.
and a lot of my own investment to build my organization. Except it wasn't really my
Exactly.
organization, right? But
The
I
plane rides, the time. Oh,
400 crossings of the Atlantic, mainly paid for by me.
that's wild. And so
Yeah.
then for that to then turn around, and that's the hand that was feeding you is not the hand that's trying to squeeze you a little
Yeah.
bit, if not I don't a lot of it, depending on your experience. But it's hard. It's hard to swallow that, and it sucks. It really is not a. It's not a now, as you said, there is been a change in a little bit in the mentality, especially with some of the younger DSMs, where they're really pushing hard to build bridges again with the alumni that have left, and the people that have left, and kind of try to create a more a better community of it. But I don't know. There's been a lot of people who've been burned by it. So, and obviously it happens. It's still kind of a tough thing to look back on.
Yeah, but like I said, it was the best thing that ever happened. I'm so glad it
Yeah.
happened. I just wish I'd been smart enough to leave after 5 summers.
See, I did 4 and I was like, I'm out.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's diminishing returns after 3 to 5 summers in terms of what you can learn. But there was lots of good times as well, and lots of great trips, adventures, um, and the stock plan that they used to have in place, where you got the stock at a 25% discount and all the evergreen options. I think it's all changed a bit now, but in those days, it was the best stock deal in the world. And Jerry Heffel, who was the president until 2007, was a phenomenal leader, great guy, still a really good friend. I was at my kids were looking at OSU a few weeks ago, back in February now, and we went and hung out with Jerry, and he came round and showed us all the campus and all the places he used to hang out. And Jerry, just a super man and a principled guy, really great philosophies. And probably looking back, 2008, we started the new business, and there was definitely, once we saw Jerry had exited and all the VPs had been emptied out as well in 2007. The writing was kind of on the wall for the future of the business, in my
Yeah.
opinion. So yeah.
That was kind of the beginning of the end, or like the not the end maybe, but the change, the shift to happen. Because a lot of people were lost after that, for sure.
Yeah, there was a lot of intellectual property and a lot of relationships that really got thrown out then. If you look back and you look at the numbers, there was 3,000 kids selling there, and I think they're down to like, I don't know, 1,500 or 1,400
Yeah.
or something now, which is
Yeah.
ridiculous. I mean, that's like, I don't know.
It's a loss. It's a lot.
It's like
It's hard.
it's like two DSMs. Like, you know,
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
you know, what are these guys doing? They look at the team sizes and you know, it's just insane. The average, you know, the wall of greats was 20 people, right? You had to have 20 people to be in the wall of greats, and slowly but surely, it just, I think it's down to like 10 and then 5 and whatever else. Like, you get to go on the club med trip if you bring your cousin to sales school. I mean, it's just a joke. So
No PSL letter. Oh man.
yeah, oh yeah,
Well,
yeah. Do they have PSLs? Do they still got that?
yeah, they still got that.
Oh,
They
well,
still got that. And here's the thing. Like I've always said this. I think this puts a good bow on that. On this is, to some people, I would say to 99% of the people, Southwestern Advantage is the best internship you could possibly do in college. As far as like the experience, as far as what you get to learn, sure. It's not the best career. You can boast the internship all you want, and I will not take away from that. I learned so much. I probably learned more selling books than I did in class, really, right? But once you kind of step out of that and you leave, you see the rest of the opportunities, and based on the perspective that you have now gained based on that experience,
yeah.
and you realize, oh, there's way more to life than Southwest Airlines, you know.
I would take that a step further and say there's lots of great internships for college kids as well. There's no way my kids would sell books.
Oh wow, interesting.
Yeah, I just wouldn't. I'd be like, are you crazy? Like, why don't you, you know? there's a million other things you could do. You could build your own business for a start. They're quite entrepreneurial.
Oh,
So
nice.
you know, it's like, you know, there's so many different ways. But at the time, and bear in mind, you know, when I started selling books, it was like pre-internet. And I'm not
Right.
joking. It was like, you know, there was no cell phones. I mean, um, it was like the dark ages, and you know, so the availability of information of other things that you could do was not really there. And you know, I grew up in a great family, but you know, my family was a medical family. My dad was a doctor, my mum was a nurse, and I didn't really understand business and how it worked. So, you know, I'd like to think now if I was going to do an internship, I'd probably be writing at an investment bank or a consultant firm or, you know, something like that. But
Sure.
I certainly, you know, I had a great time selling books and all the I didn't necessarily have a great time selling books. I had a great time building my organization. Having like having
There,
chihuahuas pee on my book bag was not really my idea of fun. You know, having having 8-year-olds telling that their mom was unavailable or on a long distance phone call.
or a
Uh,
3-year-old come to the door naked, and you're like, "My
this,
God,
this is not
no,
good.
I'm out. I'm out."
Yeah, yeah. This
Oh man, dads yelling at you with guns and American accents that are not really educated. But
dads who were mowing their lawn. That was always a danger side. There was a lot of testosterone going on there. A lot of people getting territorial about their grass. But anyway, anyway, on to that. Yeah, so you know, so yeah, I loved the building an organization. I loved the kids. I loved the whole building character in young people. And my philosophy when I was, you know, going through the ranks of being a student manager, OL, ESL, FSL, district sales manager, regional director, and then being president of the international bit, or my international bit, was always look down, never look up. So you know, my whole reason to be was for the, you know, to really develop the kids, and I didn't always get it right, but my heart was always in the right place with it. And I just loved the process of seeing them grow. So from that, you know, from that side, it was good. And there was a lot of kids that did need it, you know, and you're able to help them and help them deal with the things they needed to deal with.
Yeah, that's for sure. Now you touched on something. You touched on the 1992 and your first summer, and I always like to ask about how you got into Southwestern itself. Do you mind if we get into that story?
No, let's do it. So,
Okay,
like I
now
said, that's going to be the quickest ponytails podcast you've ever had.
okay, so that's fine. We could look. Listen, we had the record is 42 minutes, so we're moving on it. We're moving on to it now. Before you do so, let me give a shout out to a couple of our
15 minutes of adverts at the start.
yeah, we had to figure it out. Now this one will be shorter, but I do got to give a shout out to. Do you remember Pat? You know Pat.
I
think
love
we talked
Pat.
about this. Yeah.
He was Mr. Cadillac. He used to do
Yeah.
the balloon skit in sales school.
That's right, which is a great skit. That was like one of the best ones. You were like, oh man,
He's still with Southwestern, and he's paying you for advertising, which I just think is the most incredible, beautiful thing that you're actually getting paid by Southwestern. Really?
That's right.
Let's give him a shout out.
To have this conversation.
If you need your next home, look here.
Yeah, that's right. Click here. Or if you're looking to sell homes, click here. Now he took the good parts of Southwestern and created his own thing with it. And like now they're 99% drama free. He likes to say that anyway. The biggest thing that if you're looking for flexibility, if you're looking for something to do that's different and it's booming, dude, call Pat Roach. We don't have to sell Pat Roach on this. Call Southwest Real Estate. They're going to be taking care of you. 95% of their agents stick, as opposed to the rest of the industry, which is 95% of the agents quit after the first year. So all of his agents are earning super high income, and of course, it's really easy to do real estate nowadays. And again, one more time to Cardinal. Do you remember Quentin Roberts? Did you ever know Quentin Roberts, Robin?
I don't know the name Quentin Roberts now.
Nick Dale and Pedro Vega. They're creating a big old team.
I remember Pedro Vega.
Yeah, Pedro is a legend. Yeah. He has the record for longest episode. You might have the record for shortest, but we'll see. His was 4 hours long. I don't presume you want to break that record.
No.
But yeah, he was on the show back in May, Cinco de Mayo. It made sense that we had a Mexican on the show for Cinco de Mayo, so that was pretty solid. And yeah, solid guy, building a great organization. Speaking of someone who had a tough exit of Southwestern for the same kind of similar reasons, but they're crushing it now. And at this point, honestly, we've had, I think, 2 or 3 people get recruited from Cardinal because they listen to us on the show. So people are getting those bonuses, and it's exciting. It's exciting that they're growing an organization that's apart from and away from Southwestern. So happy about them. Shout out to, love you guys. You guys are great. And then last but not least, Thought Leader. So Thought Leader is with Dylan Barr. Robin, if you ever want to do a TED Talk, I know a guy you need to call. Okay. So yeah, so if these guys help people get their TED Talks. So if you there's 2 roles that they're hiring for. They're hiring them exclusively out of Ponytails through us. And so basically the first role, if you're listening in and you want maybe the average income for this is about $50,000 to $70,000 a year. It's very entry level. So this would be more like you sold 1 summer, 2 summers, and are looking to still build your sales skills. You're calling warm leads to set them up and qualify them for the enrollment specialist, which is the second role that they have available. That person is essentially calling all those warm leads that have been qualified. You have a schedule already filled in, and you're just all day talking to people about how to get their awesome stories onto a platform that can be validated through TEDx. So that's exciting. Call Dylan Barr, DB at Thought Leader. It's on the screen. If you're listening in, it's DB at thought-leader.com. If you're interested, their earnings for the enrollment specialist is about $130,000 to $250,000 a year. And they've helped 400 people already land our TEDx talk. So that is who we are working with. Love you guys lots. You guys are amazing. Thanks, Dylan. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Back to Robin. Now, roll the clocks back a little bit. What's that?
You missed the best bit about Southwestern Real Estate.
What was that?
It's only 40% commission to sell your house.
That's right. That's the sell your house. Actually, I need to buy a house, so I need to call someone.
Yeah.
I just got married, so I need to we're into that part now where it's like we got to start buying a home here soon. It's so expensive in Portland though. But we'll make it happen. Listen, you should sponsor so that I can buy a house. That's what. That's what.
That sounds great. I'll just get too so. Well, but the problem is that all our telecoms provisions in the UK. So I guess I have to have a look at your imprint in the UK market.
Yeah, you guys don't do any other European countries at all, though?
Ah, no, there's a 40 billion pound industry in the UK. There's more than enough to go around. So I,
Dang.
I did my years of traveling. I've done I've got my 4 million mile card in America. I don't need to get on the plane again.
You could die without ever getting on a plane ever again in your life.
Pretty
I
much.
mean, that's you're all set. That's fair. That's fair. We could talk about this. Could be a story for another time. Story
You're gonna
for
you're gonna ask about 1992 in the Dark Ages. That's where we were at.
That's right. That's right. Well, and maybe I was actually curious too about because your dad's from India. You said your
Yeah,
dad's Indian, and so
yeah.
maybe like how did you guys end up in Scotland, and then how did you go from being in Scotland, and then who approached you about selling books? Maybe tell a little bit about your story from as far back as you wish to go.
Sure. Well, I mean, my dad came over. He did his medical degree in Kolkata in India, and he came over to the UK in 19. I think it was like 1957, something like that. And he only came for a couple of years to do his fellowship to become a surgeon. And then he met my mom, who was a nurse. He was amputating a leg, and he passed the leg to the nurse, who was my mom, and they got married 6 weeks later, and they've been married for almost 60 years now. So
Wow. Most people hand over flowers. It was like
yeah, yeah.
here's some
So,
toes.
exactly. Yeah, no, it was cool. And then so I was born in 71, and I grew up in Glasgow, in the west coast of Scotland.
Yeah.
And then I went to university in Edinburgh, and I was studying biology or animal science. I wanted to be a vet, was my sort of dream. And then I kept getting my exam results that disagreed with my dream. So I started off doing animal science, and I was dating a girl in college who was doing business studies, and I was playing rugby with a bunch of guys who were doing business studies. I'm sort of thinking, you guys are basically in class like, 2 days a week, and I'm in 5 days a week writing lab reports till midnight. There's something wrong here. So and
Yeah.
also I broke my leg playing rugby at the start of second year. Um, so I had changed course from biology to business studies, and I had zero business experience. And I'd broken my leg, so I couldn't go on the rugby tour at South America the next year. And I saw this old yellow or sort of yellow fluorescent poster with a handwritten sign on it saying sales and marketing experience in the USA. Come to the union at 6 p.m. So I went along, and I was on crutches because I'd broken my leg playing rugby, and there was two very attractive young ladies holding a presentation in their cat suits, which were the fashion at the time. And I had no idea what I was signing up for, but I thought I'd sign up anyway. And
Don't we all?
that was in November 1991, and I was probably the worst recruit in the history of the company. I didn't turn up to anything until the May. They'd been trying to get in touch with me to tell me that I was no longer part of the program because I hadn't got any training, and but they could, but I hadn't returned their calls, and I turned up to meet Sarah, and he's like, "Where have you been?" I said, "I've been living life, been having fun. I'm a college student. What do you expect?" I'm like, my dad was going to a conference in Toronto, just before sales school. So I said, like, I'm not going to come over with a team. I'm going to go to Toronto and hang out with my folks for a few days, and then I'm not taking the Greyhound from New York to Nashville. I'm going to fly down. I'll see you guys in sales school. So I turned up at sales school on the Sunday night. I had a fax of the sales talk that I basically read on the plane down to Nashville. Turned up with like bags of attitude, sat at the back of sales school with my arms crossed for 5 days, thinking this is just a load of cheesy crap. and sat up drinking beer till 2 in the morning every night by the pool. Um,
Oh man, like just everything you're not supposed to do at all.
yeah. And then Sarah, like, I almost had to reset sales school,
Oh man.
but somehow managed to talk my way out of it. And then I sat with Sarah driving up to Indiana. And then when I got to the field, I was kind of, I guess, energized, and I loved finding the headquarters for everyone. And I went out my first week and sold like 102 units. And then I sold 150 the next week. And then I can't even remember. I had like 160 the next week. And then I went down the next week, and then I had pneumonia for 2 weeks. And I was like, so 2 0 week. Yeah, and then I came back and I sold 250, 320, and one sizzler in the last day. So that was my first summer. And went to Gap,
Wow.
spent pretty much everything I made. And went on Sizzler and had a great time. That was
That's how
that.
they get you back.
Yeah, I did. I remember I had a green tongue by the end of that first Sizzler because of the amount of partying that we'd done in Egypt. And think there was a young lady involved that week that helped me to come back as well. And you know,
Natural.
and then I brought a 10-person team. Recruiting came really easy to me. DC flew over, and I never forget. I picked him up at Edinburgh Airport, and we drove to another campus because there was some other student manager at Edinburgh who was being a bit territorial. So I was like, great, we'll go to Stirling and I'll just recruit there. And I went, and I think I signed up 25 people on my first day.
Jeez.
I remember I'd found out, DC liked jazz music. So I had like Kenny G playing in the car for him or whatever. And I gave him a schedule when he landed. He's like, oh, wow, this guy kind of is quite organized. And I was like, just doing what I thought anyone would do. And then, so I had a 10-person team that year. And then I had 53 in my organization the next year when I graduated. And
wow.
I didn't really think much of it. It was just like what I did. And I was my attitude towards Southwestern was very similar throughout my whole career. It was never the be all and end all for me. I've missed a lot of meetings. I did my own thing. I played rugby. I had my buddies outside Southwestern. I couldn't understand these people that thought it was the be all and end all. I just thought that was a really strange attitude to have. I thought it was all a bit strange, but it was a great way to make money and to have fun and to impact people and to teach them stuff. But it was never the be all and end all for me all the way through my career.
Wow. That's refreshing. That's refreshing. Because there's people who, think that the only way to become a great recruiter is you have to like drink the whole Kool-Aid with all the sugar. And it's like, yeah, sometimes you just got to do the things you got to do. You have good intentions to change people, to really help people. And then it works out too.
I had good philosophies. I had good beliefs and good principles. So I always, did the right thing by my guys. But I was not ever a company man, which probably manifested itself in the end. But I had a pretty good ride, during it.
Yeah, that's no doubt. Let me ask.
Yeah, go on.
I was going to ask you, as someone who recruited easily, because that's not easy for everyone. What do you think was like the key? Like, or not the key? That's a stupid question. Like, what do you think helped you as much as it did? Was it the intentions? Was it the consistency? What was your success in recruiting that really, like, you think helped you end up with such a large organization? Because you said 500, right? 500 people eventually. That's crazy.
Yeah, it was awesome. And it should have been a lot more, but that's another story. But anyway, I worked hard. I worked really, really hard. So even although I wasn't necessarily a company man, I had a phenomenal work ethic. and I guess I was reasonably good at building relationships with people. And I that's something that I love people, always have done. So that bit of it came easy, and I think people liked that I was natural.
Mm.
I was never reading off a script, or I was never. I mean, I followed all the stuff and I learned it all, and I thought it was pretty good, but I was never I was never sort of overly. You get some student managers and sales managers who, they're just really drinking the Kool-Aid, and they're, yeah, exactly, and that was not me.
You were not the robot. You just kind of you understood the principles, you understood the ideas, but you were
Yeah.
able to make it you. You were able to be authentic, which seems to be a very like common thread with
Also, some of the students that I worked with might listen to this and think, "What a crock of shit." You were really into Southwestern, but I wasn't, honest.
That's all right. Not
And
everybody is.
I had a great mentor, obviously, DC. DC is the godfather to our eldest twin sons, and remains a really great friend, and just a special human being. I mean, he's just one of the best people on the whole planet. There's no one like DC. Um,
No.
he's kind, he's funny, he's got such a great heart, and he was probably the only person on the planet that could manage me, because he let me be me. And
Wow.
otherwise, I don't think I think I would have been unmanageable for anyone with an ego. And ZC has zero ego. So
Absolutely.
he's just like, hey, you think that's what you should do? Do it. If and also I was teachable, like, so we played a lot of golf, an awful lot of golf. And I would take the scorecard and I would write that. We'd talk every hole, we'd be talking stuff. And he had a family and stuff by then, and I was a young single guy. So we would finish playing golf at Nashville Golf, at like 6 or 7 at night. He'd go home to his family, and I'd go back to the office and start working. DC had so many ideas that you could not humanly implement them all and be effective. But I used to pick out the 2 or 3 ideas that I thought would work for us, and then really hone in on them. And then the next week we would sort of develop them a bit more, and we had a lot of fun. That part of it, being a sales manager, running the organization out in Nashville was that was really good fun.
That's fantastic. Now, if you guys are interested, Dave Cosner's episode, DC's episode, is number 78 on our list. He was with us back in January. Feel free to go back and listen to that one. It was a great episode as well. It was great to catch up with Dave, with DC, and it was a cool episode for sure. So make sure you catch on that. And then, okay, I have another question for you, and then we can get to the ponytails, which could be like your best story or whatever. Is that cool? We can have it wrapped up in an hour, as I promised, because I respect your time. Next. Yeah, absolutely. Well,
Also, I don't think I've got anything interesting enough to say to take it much longer than that.
That's fair. I mean, we can still dig into some stuff. Maybe the ponytails question could be about your working with Chris Adams, and like how, like, the things that you maybe like learn from that. I always like, with people like yourself who had like a longer career and had a really successful recruiting and sales career, I always like asking about like the biggest lessons you've learned. But one other question besides that, the ponytails, is I also like to ask is, you've seen a lot of 500 people in your organization. You've seen people do really well in sales, and you've seen people not do so well in sales. And so what, in your opinion, is the key to a successful salesperson? That is it skill? How much is it? If you had 2 people who had the same skill, same sales talk, same background, what would make one better than the other at production in your eyes, or in your experience?
Great question. Work ethic is obviously high on my list because it's something that's important to me. The ability to listen, and the ability to ask the right questions at the right time. I think that's probably why you're very good at this, and probably why you had such an exceptional first summer, because it's knowing what questions to ask when. and listening to the answers, and letting people, take you to where you need to be. I think there's, I mean, a bit of a cliche, but the ABCs of attitude, having an absolute attitude of a champion, that you believe you can do anything, belief in what you're doing, belief in your product, and belief in the fact that you're helping people and providing a service, and conviction. You've got to be absolutely convicted that you can achieve what you set out to achieve in life. So I'd say they're probably the X factors, that I would identify, in people that are, were going to be successful. I was lucky in that I could typically tell how people were going to do within a fair degree of accuracy.
Mm.
And then, there's also the fact that you recruit people like you, and I was obviously reasonable. Not so much my first summer, but I was reasonable in subsequent summers at selling, and I hit more, and I had the number one team in the world and all that type of stuff. So I was able to, help find people that were like me.
That's gold. First of all, thank you for the compliment. That makes me feel really nice, and especially coming from you, that's awesome. But there's no. I mean, most people that have asked that question, there's really no. They at some point they refer to, maybe not in the first order, but at some point they refer to the work ethic. I feel like there's no shortcutting that in any venture, and so I feel like that's the biggest lesson there. Is just, hey, you can be amazing, you can have the talent, but if you're not putting in the hours, the effort, yeah, you're gonna be stuck where you are. Damn, that's really good. That's really good. All right. So to stay true to you and to the hour that you've given me, we're 50 minutes into this thing, and we're gonna keep it at an hour because
Okay.
I want to be although
we,
it's your
we can go a little longer if you want. It's fine. I've enjoyed it. Just,
see,
I
that's
need.
what they else.
The thing is, I'm unfortunately getting a little bit older, so I need to get to my bed at a reasonable time.
Yeah, what time is it for you right now?
It's only 9:42, but
Got it. We'll go
yeah,
5 minutes if we need to. If we need to.
absolutely. I need to get my beauty sleep because try and keep the remaining hair that I've got from falling out.
Listen, like,
Oh
I've
wow,
accepted it at this point.
like
It's
the Oregon
it's
version
gone.
of candy right there.
This is a true story of how bad it is. Side note on this super tangent. My wife, we're watching Castaway. This is a few weeks ago. We're watching Castaway, and there's a part where he's like cutting coconuts. He's like trying to open the coconuts. You've seen the movie, right? Castaway with Tom Hanks.
I haven't, but
Oh, okay. So Tom Hanks gets stranded on an island, and he's trying to survive. So he's trying to open up a coconut with a rock. You can't get it. You can't get it. And he's just trying all these different ways. And she's so invested when she watches films that she's like emotionally attached to it. And I'm just laying on the couch. She's like playing, sometimes your wife gives you some love, plays with your hair, right? So she's doing that. And she smacks my head because she was so invested in this. And I guess this reminded her of a coconut. So that's when I knew, oh
there
boy,
you go.
it's brown and hairy and round, that's what it's like. So that was a whole side tangent on hairlines, but you know what, yeah, you can get your beauty sleep. We'll get you back on track on your sleep. We can sneak into the ponytail section of this, which is where like your best, if you have a couple of really really good stories, or and you can think about this as I do one last ad round, but really really your favorite stories, or Lee McCroskey told us the time where he shit his pants selling books. You don't have to tell us that. It could be a fun Sizzler story that you have in Egypt that you took. It could be the biggest lessons. Yvette Keister, she gave us like the biggest lessons that she had learned in her time or since then. Think about those while I talk about some of our partners really quick, and then we're out of here. Or Chris Adams. I want to hear about Chris as well. As you're doing that, we already talked a little bit about EnLight.Energy, so I won't spend too much time on that. Julio Hernandez and Nick Taverdi are crushing it, and they are making quite a bit of money. A sale every other week is going to get you guys six-figure income with EnLight.Energy. Reach out to them. They are looking for people in any of the states in the U.S. territories to sell some solar with. They do a really good job with solar. Alex Black was on our show talking about that as well. Big shout out as well to VDisain. They're doing they did our website, our merch. By the time this airs, our merch is out and live, so you guys can get sweatshirts, hoodies, coffee mugs, hats, really fun things. We have our units T-shirt. I was telling you, Robin, you can get anywhere in the world. You can get this YOUNITS units, and then a Ponytails podcast logo. We have different colors of the units T-shirt if you guys want to go buy them there. And if you need a website and you're in the United States, you have a small business or a big business, you kind of need to pivot to make sure you get a more affordable website that has a lot of features. Reach out to us. These guys are book guys from Estonia, and they did a great job with ours. We're pretty happy about it. And then last but not least, one more big shout out to Greta Huerta and Cardinal Senior Benefits. Greta was the girl that originally opened the door for us to have that partnership, and it's been such a really cool blessing to have those guys on as part of our sponsorship team, our jockeys. And she's the one that kind of led the way. She broke the company record over there, and of course has been a big instrumental part on both their growth and ours as well. So thank you guys so much. They are doing a $500 bonus right now if you hire them. They are, just doing a phenomenal stuff with building their culture and having a solid team. They're obviously not affiliated with Southwestern, so that's one of the things that people have really liked about it. And so it's your call on what you're doing. If you want a switch into a flexible schedule, that would be the place. Call us. We'll get you in touch with them. So anyway, back to the show. Did you come up with a couple of things in the meantime, or do I need to prod you for a couple of stories?
You can probably prod me in a minute, but I you mentioned Chris. He was a wonderful human being, and we worked together very, very closely in the early years. Chris had built a phenomenal organization in Estonia. Before that, he had to work really, really hard to be successful. If you look at his track record, he had a couple of challenges with teams from the UK, and he'd actually used to come to my kickoff meetings in Ardronig and bring his key people to them to try and learn from what we were doing, and it really helped them, and then they sort of cracked the nut of Estonia, and that just exploded, and went exceptionally well with a lot of help from Andres and with some great people from over there. Vaco and Ellen Coomber was a big part of that as well. So that he really and he scaled that and did a super job there. It's kind of sad in the later years. We were both so busy with our own organizations, and Chris was very aligned with Henry, and I was very aligned with DC, and we sort of sometimes saw things a little differently. And that was kind of a shame, because you said for some of the lessons you look back at, now looking at that situation, I'd be like, look, I actually did say this at the time, but I would have been more forceful about it, saying, we all want the same things. So why don't we kind of figure out how we can do more of this together? So that was probably, probably a lesson. But we had lots of great times, lots of great trips, lots of phenomenal dinners with some great wine and some wonderful food over the years, and particularly when we used to do stuff together and our sizzlers together and things like that in the early years. So there's some really great memories from there. And he was a super individual and a great person. So that was kind of that part of it. And I think looking back as well, and this isn't just related to that, it's related to everything, is working in an organization and working with super talented people. As I look back at it, I definitely benefited massively from working with Spencer and Jerry, and I've always been really good at learning and I guess going up to older people and asking them for help. Probably towards the end of my career, that became more of a, when I guess I was in my early 40s, and there was a little tension because of our telecoms business. And if I'd really wanted to get things worked out, I could have done. But I I think now I would go back and say, like, guys, everyone's been a little bit silly here. Why don't we just kind of take a 50,000 feet view of it rather than trying to turn it into a pissing battle, which is essentially what happened. Which is really daft. It's just not. Everyone would have won and benefited from that, I think. And then I thought something else there when I was talking about that, but it went out of my head. Yeah, I mean, and the other fundamentals of sales are, attitude, work ethic. Telecoms is a brilliant business to be in, and I'm glad that I took some of that to Southwestern, because when I was doing 2 roles between 2009 and 2014, so I ran 2 circles. You're doing all our business to business comm sales over here in the UK, and I ran my international group. So it was an amazing time. I had 2 really, really full on roles. Really enjoyed that. But I said to the directors at a meeting in Dallas, I said, look, guys, we need to develop some type of subscription based income. And and I went through how the money works. It's ridiculous the amount of money that you can make in a subscription based business. It's just, you make the sale once, you get paid forever. You sell books once, well, that's you. You maybe sell like a crappy annual at the end of the year. I don't think you do those anymore, but they were like really horrendous products. But anyway, so I'm like, well, why don't we develop like an online homework tool? And we did. We developed, I think it started off as called Southwestern Advantage, and then Southwestern Edge or Swedge it was.
Yeah, it was Swedge, 2011. Yeah.
They had a great team. They had Kate Walker, who's a super incredible human, and
She's
Haley,
amazing.
Haley Price, or Haley Devlin now, who was just phenomenal. And we really had a great thing going on that product. And that, I believe, could have been a really, really good ongoing income stream if it had been done right. And then right around the sort of time of the axings in 2014, and that's when Lee left and Haley left, and everyone else, or not everyone else, several other people who I consider to be really good left around then. Nate, and then Ritzer was soon after that. All for different reasons from me, I should clarify.
Yeah.
But that Swedge product, or I had like the little furry guys. I can't even remember what they were called. The orange one, and the Lexi was one called Lexi.
Squids. Is it
all that stuff? That I really think could have been a massive wall of cash for Southwestern, and a great tool for kids that could have been taken globally, and should have been taken globally, and developed just a really, really good ongoing income stream. And a product that could have added value. You could have, there was talk, and sadly it was just talk and nothing happened about it, was about where we could have, for everyone we sold in America, we could have donated one in Africa, to help, help kids out there. The basis of the Southwestern model, if it could be adapted, is so powerful, and it could, if you had someone in there with the right mindset and the right vision, and they were willing to take a blank piece of paper and listen to all the phenomenal young people that I'm sure are still there, they could come up with a business model that would actually really work and really be exciting, where you don't have to work 70 or 80 hours a week. I mean, I've always been a hard worker, but some of the hours that I did in the big field were dangerous. They were dangerous.
Not good. Yeah, and we talked about this on the show before, where it's like, there's no reason, if you have no appointments, or if you're a first year, especially like, where you have that first year that you're like, you're not sharp, but you're also not extremely polished yet. So to send that person out at 7:30 in the morning or at 9 o'clock at night in the dark in Texas or something, not smart. Like, go home. It's live literally to fight another day because you might like, you know what I mean? And so the scheduling and stuff like that, that's yeah, on
And,
board, on
and
board.
going back to like 1992 when the way you got in touch with your parents was by a payphone and airmail letters. Um,
Yeah,
even then they thought it was pretty crazy. But nowadays, if these kids will be WhatsApping their parents every, or whatever you guys use over there. I know
yeah,
WhatsApp, iMessage, or whatever.
yeah,
Um, you know, every like 10 minutes going, Mom, this is really shit. It's like, I hate this. Okay. Well, once you've got like 500 text messages saying that type of thing, you're going to probably say, okay, well, come home. Or what are you doing? So there's so many ways that A, the program could be made better, and B, really sharp kids could be recruited, because you'll be losing out on a lot of sharp kids by having the program set up the way it is just now.
yeah.
But hey, what do I know? I didn't make it through uh, to be able to get to 1,000 people.
You know, it's the traditions and the model are the strength and weakness of the company itself. I feel like, we've been around for 160 years and this is how we've done it, so this is what's going to work. Yes, but also no. You have to there's it's two sides of the same coin. The longevity doesn't mean that it's going to continue to work. Part of the reason why it worked the way it did is because there was innovation, and the lack thereof is always going to be an issue of growth and ability to kind of change with the times, which it always seems to be behind. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I think that's that's what I'm getting from what you're saying. For example, they didn't use iPads to keep pre-approach until like 2017, 2018.
Yeah,
But there's been other door-to-door companies that had been using that same technology since 2010, since
yeah,
the
yeah.
iPad had come out. So it's in those 7 years, that's a lot of money that you might have lost by not innovating fast enough because you're attached to this tradition of this is always worked, so it's going to continue to work. Maybe not. Maybe move on. Maybe change. But
Well, the world, is changing so rapidly. At the moment, it's just incredible. There's never been as much change in the world as there has been the last 3 years, and the next 2 years there'll be even more information,
yeah,
even more. So it's been able to pick out, what are the salient pieces of information that are going to help you get to where you need to get to. So, just being able to say, okay, well, where are we at? What do we need to do to take this to a level that will be functional in 2040? Not
yeah,
looking at 1868 or whatever it was.
yeah. That's
Uh,
right. Like at some point, we can't keep doing it this way. It's gonna have to change.
yeah,
So
well, so I do hope that the company does well, and I do hope that the program endures. I think there's lots of ways that it could be done. It could be done differently, and it could be a global program as well.
hmm,
You know, that could be duplicated very simply and at relatively low cost.
that's
Um,
right.
so
Ooh,
yeah, so
ooh.
there you go.
Check out the big brain
I,
on
I, I
Robin.
I actually don't usually. I don't think about it, but I very rarely think about Southwestern. So when I got your message, and then I spoke to you tonight, I'm like, well, okay, well, I better switch my Southwestern brain back on. But that's what my thoughts tonight would be
Well,
on it.
this has been great. It's been an honor to have chatted with you. Did you have fun? Was this okay with you? Was this a
Yes,
worthy hour?
it is wonderful. I think you're doing a great thing. I'm listening to some more podcasts when I'm cutting the lawn, like those guys were when I was selling books, and I'll get my AirPods in and see what everyone's got to say. I'll be interested to hear it. The best thing about Southwestern is, and everyone, if anyone's still listening, knows, is the people that you meet and the friendships that you make, and they endure forever. We were in California in February, and played golf with Brad Ledwith, who is just one of
Yeah.
one of the best people on the planet. it's just whenever you with Brad, you know you're gonna laugh, you know you're gonna have a great time. We saw Jerry in Oklahoma, which was amazing. We stayed with DC and Cindy in Nashville, you know, when we were there. And that's just like it's like, you know, home from home, you know. So um the people, the relationships, the friendships, um yeah, the ingrained skills that you do develop through fortitude are, you know, they're really, really good things. So yeah, looking back, there's definitely lots of positives. There's a few war wounds and a few scars, but there's also an awful lot of good things. And you know, I only wish anyone who's doing it the very best, and just hope they have good, safe summers. And you know, remember that they are not their units.
That's right. That is correct. And I think that's a good bow to put on this one for sure. So with that, we'll leave it at that. You know, by the way, you're welcome back anytime. So if you ever have other thoughts, or if you just want to talk, even if you don't want to talk Southwestern, you want to talk telecom stuff, or you want to talk rugby, you want to talk football, you're always a welcome guest on the show. You know, just ring a bell. You got my contact, so we'll get you back on the air whenever you want.
Thank you,
So
Andres. No, I really appreciate that. Like I said, I never ever, this is another weird thing about me. I never ever had book dreams, ever. Like, even when I sold books,
oh,
never had book mares after it. I genuinely don't think I cared enough about, you know, it wasn't, it was a joke. It was what I did. You know, I kind of loved it, but it wasn't like, it wasn't going to affect my life in any major way. Um, so it's been really nice to actually think about it for a little while and talk about it, yeah, been great fun. I think you're doing a great thing with your podcast, and I really wish you a lot of success, and look forward to, you know, to seeing it growing and developing in all the different ways that it can. And your Whistler trip sounds phenomenal. If I
you're
was
welcome to come.
Well, you know, if I was 15 years younger, I might think about doing that, but no one really wants to see a fat old guy on the beach. Um,
I mean, 401 Atlantic trips. We could, you know, it could be cooler.
trying to relive his youth. Um, but I think for the generation below me, that'd be a great thing. Yeah, maybe I can organize like some sort of geriatric Sizzler trip. Um, you know, people over 50 that have to pee twice a night and stuff like that, you know, have different criteria.
We'll call it Gizzler, geriatric sizzler. Oh man. Well, just so you know, the next one will be in Bulgaria. So it's a little closer to you than to us for sure. But you know, maybe we could do, here's what we could do. Simon, I don't know if you ever, or he's known as Przemysław Stanis. He's from Poland, big European name back in the day in like the mid 2000s. So you might be familiar with Simon. But anyway, he suggested that he sponsors his episode. Either is going to air also in June, so I don't know if it'll be before or after this one, but he said that he'd sponsor us going out there and like making a tour and like interviewing people in person throughout Europe. And so maybe we could do an event in Europe where we get some alumni who live in Glasgow. You're in Glasgow now or Edinburgh?
Edinburgh, but
Okay, I've been to
that'd
both.
be
Love both.
that'd be really good. And actually, being the team built the organization in Bulgaria in the 2003 onwards. They're great kids. Really amazing guy called Vasil Chakardakov and his lovely wife Laura run it.
Laura's going to be on the show in June as well.
Brilliant!
Yeah. So she's either already aired by the time the people listen to this, or she's coming up. Yeah.
Well,
she's awesome.
Tell Superwoman that Superman said hi.
I will. The European kids, they love you. And then Radoslav is working on that historical park in Bulgaria. That's where we're going to do the Bizzler, which is going to be exciting. So if you guys haven't heard about that, it's a crazy idea. To go listen to our episode 77 right before DC's episode, all about the details on that. It's a crazy park that they're building historically of the Bulgarian history and all that stuff. So we'll be out there.
yeah, just make sure you got your life insurance all up to date before you go to Bulgaria.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's amen to that. So especially now, especially more recently. Yikes.
Oh yeah, that's that bit.
Yeah.
That's an added bit of spice. They were always there though.
You
Those
heard
guys.
about the little chap in Russia who thinks he's so great. He's wreaking havoc in that area, in the Eastern Europe side. So, but I will go visit you. I'll go see you in Edinburgh. We can have another beer, and we
Yes,
can.
absolutely.
Yeah, I'm coming.
Well, look forward to meeting you. That'll be
That's
great.
right. Awesome. Well, guys, my name's Andres Gamboa. We've been with Robert Mukerjee, absolute legend of the book field and beyond. And so, thank you so much for the authenticity, for your honesty, and for your open mindedness to being on the show. And it's been a lot of fun. So, hope you guys enjoy this one. We'll catch you guys on the next one. Keep an eye out for more ways that you can support, ways that you can stay connected. Make sure to share, subscribe, follow us on Instagram, all of that jazz. We'll see you in the next one. Bye, everybody. See ya.